Babs Seed, Featherweight, A True Love by Switched Up. One day did Babs Seed receive some news from her parents that they were going to move from Manhattan to Ponyville. She was very surprised that one day that they are moving from the big city onto the countryside. But that was actually because of they wanted to be more closer to their relatives in Ponyville. And that means that she wanted to be more closer and more happier to be with Apple Bloom and her friends. She wrote to Apple Bloom and telling her that they are moving to Ponyville within the next 3 weeks. And Apple Bloom was so excited about this, so she wrote back and told that she couldn't wait. And just a few weeks later, they actually moved to a small place, just only a short distance from Sweet Apple Acres. Apple Bloom, Sweetabelle, and Scootaloo had made a small welcome party for Apple and Babs Seed. And she was so happy to be there, and they all were so happy to see her again since the family reunion. They actually started that she was going to the same school as Apple Bloom, Scootaloo, and Sweetabelle. And for the first time for the past few months, Babs Seed had felt more happier to have received so many new friends. At first, she was afraid that Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon were probably started bullying her, but she was so much surprised that they were actually accepting her as a friend. And she was confused why suddenly everyone was liking her so much. And Apple Bloom explained what happened. And Babs, she was actually surprised, but she was happy about it. But with just one pony that she had much of an eye on was actually Featherweight. Featherweight was actually one of those cute boys that she liked. In fact, they were actually good friends. And just only a few months after that she had moved to Ponyville, she started falling in love with Featherweight. She hadn't told any pony about this except Apple Bloom. And she had promised not to tell any pony, not even her friends. But at first they didn't want to tell, but Babs said that it was okay to tell at least Sweetabelle and Scootaloo as long as they promised not to tell any other pony. And of course they made Pinky promise, which they didn't tell any pony. Just after some time after that, Babs wanted to be with Featherweight, but she was so shy to tell him how she felt for him. So she started to look around, even ask Apple Bloom for any ideas or how to tell him or what to do. Since Apple Bloom was actually dating Rumble at the time, so she said, just be honest and perhaps give him a note or something. And Babs actually wrote a note, but she didn't give it to him directly like that. She was waiting after school the same day after she made the note. She gave it to him, and he was surprised that Babs was actually in love with him. No other from the school has any crush on him, but him. He was very lucky, and he said that he liked her as well. After that, Apple Bloom and Babs walked home together. Apple Bloom had asked how they went, and Babs first didn't say much, except that she had given him the note and that he liked her as well. And he asked her if something else happened, if like he asked her out or if they began together. But Babs just shook her head and said no. Still, they just wanted, but she was going to ask him if they could spend some time the day after school. And she did actually the next day. And she actually was first afraid that Featherweight would never be in any kind of relationship with him at first. But Babs wanted to be with Featherweight as much as possible. They actually didn't become a couple after at least 4 months later because she was so afraid to lose him as a friend because of that. And he wanted to take it slow because Rumble had told him, take it slow, don't rush into something that you don't know if you want to work. And in fact, it did work. They actually had their first picnic together just a few days after they became a couple. But first and most, Featherweight had never been so happy to be with Babs. But one day, when they were in the park, they had a small talk about what to do next. Babs said that they could maybe go to the movies, and Featherweight said that they could do that another time because he had already decided they could go to play some bowling. But Babs was not that being good at it. But he could train her, teach her how to do something better. And she first said no, but then she changed her mind and said yes. And she was much better than accepted what she believed to be. And with help from Featherweight, she became even better. And the next few days, she actually went to movies with Featherweight. And she had very much happy time because they saw this a comedy movie. It was hilarious for them both. And when they had been together for about 2 months, and that was during the time of winter, and Featherweight took her to play bowling to celebrate the 2 months together, which that Babs didn't mind because she had a really great time with him. And afterwards they went back to his home to bring some warm chocolate. But for most of the time they had spent together, Featherweight didn't expect that this relationship was going to work out so long because he had never been in a relationship before. He often asked Rumble or Apple Bloom for any advice. And they often told him, just be yourself, be honest. But they gave him some ideas about what they can do. And during the winter, Babs and Featherweight often had snowball fights together. And Featherweight he won at least twice, and Babs won at least 3 times against Featherweight. At first he was a little bit mad because he lost her, but he said, you can have a rematch. And they had a rematch the same day. And that time, Featherweight actually won with 4 times against 3. So they were even. But then, during the spring, during our housewarming eve, Babs was given a lot of flower cards from the other boys in school, not from Rumble, of course. And Featherweight, he was getting a little bit jealous because she was getting so many cards on the boys. And he thought that she was somehow cheating on him because that she was getting so many cards and that she was seeing other boys behind her back. Because that, he did want to talk to her for at least several days. And she didn't understand why. She tried to explain to him that she was just kind to the boys in school and they were just nice to her. At first, Featherweight didn't accept it, believe it, but in fact, it turns out that was true. He actually had asked some of the other boys like Snips and Snails, and they just said that since Babs had given them a card, and they just want to be something kind to back to her, so they gave her a card. So Featherweight explained to her that he believed her. And around the summer, when their whole year anniversary, They were planning to have a picnic in the park, but then something went terribly wrong. During the summer day, suddenly it started to rain. Apparently they had planned for a rain that day, just suddenly. And also, right when they were sitting under the tree just to wait out the rain to pass, they heard a big thunder just nearby. And then a big lightning struck down right in the tree where they were sitting under. Featherweight managed to jump from the tree, but in fact Babs has not the same luck. She was not struck by the lightning itself. She was struck by at least a large branch from the tree, hit her head, and she passed out. Featherweight tried to wake her up, but she was unconscious. He was terrified something serious had happened. So he screamed for help, and suddenly a few ponies from a house just a short distance from the park heard the screaming, and they looked out and saw what happened. They saw the tree had been burned, and that Babs on the ground, that a big tree branch on next to her, and they ran out, and they carried her all the way to the hospital. Later the same day, her parents found out what happened, and they both was so terrified, but the doctor explained to them that Featherweight had managed to save her in time, because if he hadn't had any help, the condition would have been much serious. And it took her at least 4 weeks to recover from her injuries. And Babs was so happy for that Featherweight stayed there and looked after her while he was even on the hospital. And their relationship remained stronger over the first several years later. And they actually got married 20 years later. They actually got married. Rumple was asked to be Featherweight's best man and Apple Bloom to be Babs' bridesmaids. And they both was actually very happy to be married with each other. And later actually went to Las Pegasus for their honeymoon and were there for a whole 3 weeks. And they had a splendid time together in Las Pegasus. 4 years later, Babs told Featherweight that they're going to be parents. And Featherweight, he was so excited. He was so excited to be a father. And he found out that they're going to have a son. And when this son was born, they named him Arrow Colt. Arrow Colt was very much like his father, shy but still brave, but mostly shy because he was a little bit shy to be friends with more others. But over time he come over his shyness, and actually he fell in love with Rumble and Apple Bloom's daughter, Apple Cake. Apple Cake and Arrow Colt spent so much time together when they were young, and they actually became a couple when they were about 20 years old. And just barely 5 months later, they were married. Apple Cake and Arrow Colt later had 2 daughters of their own. And that's how Babs Seed and Featherweight got married, fell in love, true love, and got a big family. The end.